I wanted to be ahead of the clouds this morning, to be ahead of the sunrise, and then I realized I forgot something in my room. I went back to my room. Then I turned on the live stream, and I had the phone in upside down because I hadn't paid attention to the position of the holder on the gimbal. So I had to restart again, and the sun just beat me by a second. I wanted to show you the red rim around the cloud before the sun emerged from behind the clouds. There's some interesting insights today into human behavior, human response, and that wonderful American expression, which really keeps me thinking very often. It's a marvelous expression for life. Get your act together. And the thing is, we have lots of different types of acts which are possible because we're very complex beings. Just imagine the 5 senses. So we have 5 different ways of picking up on reality just from our senses, physically, materially, hearing, touching, seeing, scent. What am I missing? Hearing, touching, seeing, scent. Come on, there's 5, right? I can't think of what the 5th one is. Hearing, touching, seeing, sight, smell. What else is there? Haven't I slow this morning? So anyway, and then, but that's not all. Then we've got the marvelous ability to remember. And then we've got a marvelous faculty of imagination. And we can see the bottom of the bird, but we can imagine the neck of the bird if we can't see it very clearly there on the cloud. So is this a purple heron or a gray heron? I saw that other name also, to find out the difference between the two. So then we have 2 other faculties that are even more astonishing. Intelligence, to get to the truth of things, to see the objects in their truth. And then we have willpower, by which we can make decisions and we can make commitments that really bring us to incredible accomplishments despite major difficulties. So that's a huge gamut of active relationships to reality around us. And then we have a lot of other factors. We have the area of values, value of privacy and a value of social interaction. Then we have our material reality, and we have all the needs of that associated with that. So we have eating and drinking and exercising and resting, sleeping, And then we can have other issues along with that. We can have illness, or we can be in good condition. And then we have our spiritual life, and we can progress in knowledge, or we can decline into ignorance. And we can have a relationship with God and with human beings, and the horizontal dimension and the vertical dimension, opening up to the Most High, above all the earth, above all the stars, above all the constellations and galaxies. And then we come back down to earth, and we have to take care of those around us in the horizontal dimension. Relationships, and they're also so complex, because one is a relationship with the spouse, and another is a relationship with the child, and also with the parents that might be aging, and then the neighbors. So we have a lot of dimensions to us. I think we're more than three-dimensional, you know. We have this space here is three-dimensional. We have the distance from here to the tree, then we have the upper distance, then we have the height, the breadth, and the width. But then we have time, which is another dimension. And we have habits, and we can have good habits or bad habits, and we have passions that are driving forces in us. Oh, here we got one of our little birds, real close up, one of our big birds. This. Oh boy. Okay, just hold a second here. I wonder if this lady's going to take off. This is about as close as we've been to one of these birds. So we have relationships into the society at large, not just our own family. We have the larger extended family, cousins and in-laws. And then we have properties, you know, we have duties, we have responsibilities. So there's just a lot of dimensions to us. And to get our act together, sometimes then we have certain type of commitments, and we have a general commitment that we want to be kind and pleasing to everybody, but then that relationship gets burdened by behaviors of others, and by our own behavior, of course, primarily. It's amazing, you know, if you put on a smile and you come into a room, a lot of people are going to be smiling. And if you go in with a serious face, maybe you'll meet a lot of serious faces. So we can also influence a lot the environment around us. It depends on how we go in, how we engage, how we think about others, which starts there. How we feel about others in our hearts, and how we think about others. And you know, a smile, what is a smile? A smile is not just the opening of lips and the showing of teeth, because that could also be a hatred. Show your teeth, you know. So it's from the heart. It's an attitude of the heart. It's thoughts in the mind. It's how we relate to people. And then we can be very bonded. We don't want to step out of line. We don't want to rock the boat. Imagine living in a small space like a tent, a little family, little children, mom and dad, you know, and they're inside a tent. And then mom gets up quietly to get breakfast ready, or dad prepares some equipment and gets the fire going. That was one of the first things I would do when I was getting up before the family to go out to get the cows. It's just stoke the fire, take off the ashes from on top of the red logs in the range and get the fire going, because that was the heat of the house when I was a child and a teenager. And well, all of this is where we are. We find ourselves in all these relationships. And today we find a big problem in Ezekiel that, good morning, Boker Tov. And Ezekiel is asked by God to give an example to the people. And it's actually a very difficult example, because he's showing them that there's going to be exile coming. So he's not bringing the greatest, most joyous news. He's bringing news of consequences of lifestyle. And lifestyle has been, in a certain sense, with the backs towards God's will. So this lifestyle has consequences, and exile is coming. And the people don't want to accept it. They don't want to hear it. So there's a great gift of light about conversion, about life, and yet the people don't want to do it. Getting your act together. This is very interesting. How do you get your act together? I've realized, I think, that the people camping here this session are Orthodox Jewish people who are sensitive to values of modesty and have put up screens. And that's a great value, modesty. And sometimes it goes against the grain of our society today, how to live it. And there's a total trashing of modesty in a way for a total exposure, a shamelessness, or a different way of understanding the relationship between people. So that's just the circumstance of the camp here this morning. But it's very interesting that Ezekiel goes through all this trouble. Read the reading there, how he makes a hole in the wall in Jerusalem. And the people don't get it. And in a certain sense, the gospel has the same issue about forgiveness. And forgiveness is not an easy thing, and especially in a culture that doesn't have it and doesn't practice it and doesn't treasure it. We all love to be forgiven, but to forgive others, that's a much tougher story. A much tougher story to forgive others. And Jesus says 70 times 7, Peter, not just 7. And how challenging it is for us to bring our behavior into line with that teaching. It's hard to forgive the first time, but it's twice as hard to forgive the second time. And it's very difficult to forgive the 9th time and the 20th time. And there we have a situation that might need a lot of behavioral change, both in the person that's offending, but also in the person that's growing in the virtue of forgiveness. And there's transformation of our persons, of our behavior, of our life, of our relationship with God. We human beings have quite the task, depending on our background, our upbringing, our own behavior and patterns, our indulgences of passions. A lot to bring together, to get our act together. So a little reading of the scriptures can help us to open up our lives to be renewed. People, I will sign off with those challenging thoughts. And you could check it in your own reality. How is life at home? Where are the relationships? Where is the act that needs to be got together? What's missing here? What can we do? How can we grow? God bless you. See you later, alligators.